Okay, hello folks. Here we go with some more of this vintage science fiction that you all love. I know these videos are not as popular as some of the others I've done, but it's what I do at the moment. So I'm going to crack on with them. This is about the last batch I bought for now, so you might get something else next time. Right, I've got a few to get in, so I won't waste any time talking to you. I'll just say that this was a particularly nice batch that I picked up. Nice condition, a lot of nice American stuff, not a nice, actually proper vintage stuff in good condition. So yeah, here we go. Right, it's number one, Best of Sprague de Camp. Well known in America, not so well known over here. It's one of those Del Rey editions. They did a lot of best of. This one is, particularly nice condition. It's where are we? We're from 1978 there, so that's towards the end of the vintage period. Right, it's an anthology, one of the many edited by Isaac Asimov. It's about children in science fiction, basically. Not in bad condition. I mean, it's been well read, which is which is fine by me. And it was published in 1981, and that's actually a reprint. Nice cover. Okay, now this is one of those books that for some reason I remember from my own collection that went the journey a long time ago. I don't know why this particular one, whether it's the cover or the name, I don't know. Anyway, Satellite 540, Douglas Mason. Not anybody I'm overly familiar with, but it's an American Ballantine book, but it was actually released over here because it's got a UK price, and that was published in, where are we? First UK printing, 1971. So that's the first UK paperback edition. This guy, Orson Scott Card. Now, he was kind of come to the fore when I kind of stopped reading science fiction in the mid-80s. And so I've never actually read any of his books. He's quite well thought of. I think the Worthing Saga here is, one of his more famous works. But this is a much later edition by Tor in America. It's absolutely mint, actually, apart from slight browning on the pages. But I'm guessing it'll be a 1990 effort, is it? Yeah, first edition, December 1990. So that's the first American paperback. Right, this is one of those books I used to love. I used to buy a lot of these because I used to read a lot of short stories, as I said before. And this is a set of stories from Analog magazine, Analog 2. My Panther books, as you can see there. This has got a shillings on it, so it'll probably be late 60s. Yeah, Panther edition published 67, so that's a first British paperback. Nothing too interesting about it. Cover-wise, pretty normal. Right, this is one of those weird books that looks as though it might be 1950s, but actually it isn't. It's a 60s book, Corpus Earthling by Louis Charbonneau. I've heard of him, but I've never read anything by him. Digit books, they used to do a lot of stuff in the 60s. Let's see if it's got a date on it. Well, it's got copyright. Oh yeah, published 1963, so that'll be a first British paperback, probably a proper first edition, I would imagine. I wouldn't imagine it had a hardcover release. Right, Shards of Space, collection of stories from Robert Sheckley. I used to like Robert Sheckley. That's a nice minimalistic cover there. Again, this will probably be, it's a corgi. Corgi, not in bad condition, it's been read, obviously a few times, but by and large it's in decent shape, and that was published, that's a reissue 1966, so it's a second printing. Okay, here's another one I remember from way back, actually having. Dreadful Sanctuary by Eric Frank Russell, and then again another author we didn't really know much, more Americans read his stuff, I believe. That's a 4-square book in very nice condition for his age. I'm assuming it's another late 1960s effort. Yep, 1967. That looks as if it's the first paperback by 4-square. Looks almost digital. I didn't know that. Digital back in 67, but there you go. Right, here we go. Into summer science fiction of the 50s. Of course, the 50s was the heyday of science fiction. Most of the famous stories were published that decade. And this is a book full of them. See, the authors on there are all pretty well known. And it's in nice shape. It does have a remainder, you can always tell these remainder books when they've got that little mark on the bottom, but you learn to live with that, but the pages are nice and white. And that was published in 1979. Okay. Oh yes, right. Classic Over There Was One. Gods of Mars by Edgar Rice Burroughs. John Carter book, of course. Interesting cover. Shame about couldn't get it off, so not to worry. It's old. New English Library, not in bad nick. Can't complain. That hails from, where are we? Oh, it's a reprint from 1964. Nice old edition there. Right, now, while we're on Edgar Rice Burroughs, sorry, we get my authors mixed up. This is Robert Howard, of course. Sphere did a lovely series of books which I had, and I don't have any more, sadly. I'm surprised. I would have thought I would have kept them with Frazetta covers, but we've got Conan, the Freebooter, and we have Conan of Cimmeria. Cimmeria always loved that Frazetta cover. These were all 1974 first UK paperbacks. This one is a 1975 reprint. You can see it's slightly different to the others. It's hasn't got the black borders, but I mean they're not science fiction, but they're comic related. So they've got nice Rosetta covers, no problem. Right, this is the Saturday. I think it's a Saturday Evening Post, is it? Yeah, Saturday Evening Post. Reader of fantasy and science fiction. I assume it's all stories from that particular publication. Another anthology. It's actually looks like an Australian edition. Oh no, sorry, that's the Australian price. English price is on here, 3 and 6pence. which is what, about 17.5 pence. If only you'll get them for that these days. It's been read a few times, but it's a book I've never seen before. As I say, it's an anthology by authors that a lot of which I'm not familiar with, and it's a first British paperback edition, 1966. Okey-doke. Right, James Blish. I've got a few of his books by now. Galactic Cluster, interesting cover. There again, in bad condition, bit of sun bleach in there, but you can't expect anything else from older books. There's very, very white pages inside, so obviously been well kept, and that's a reprint, or rather a reissue of a reprint from 1968, so it's around about a third printing, I would guess. James Blish. Ah, right, yeah. This is always regarded as, excuse me, one of the classics out of the Silent Planet. C.S. Lewis, who of course wrote the Narnia books. I mean, whether I had this or not, it certainly looks familiar, but it's, you know, it's one of the classics up there with War of the Worlds and what have you. And it's quite an old edition by the look of it. It's a pan edition, and it was published in, oh yeah, well, it's been reprinted a few times. That's actually a sixth printing from 1962. Of course, all the classics get reprinted quite often, but I can't vouch for the literary merit of it because I haven't read it. Right, it's one of those 1960s efforts that always look a bit cheapo. Hodder books. It shouldn't be from Hodder Lake, but it's an interesting cover at least. What you can see of it. John Lymington, The Giant Stumbles, and it's a 1965 edition. Looks like a first paperback printing. Right. Now I've got a couple of Ace books here. You could always tell the later Ace books because they're standard size. The earlier Ace books were all smaller size. I had this one, I remember it coming with Terence by Lee Brackett. I would guess that, I don't know if this has got a date in. No, it's copyright 67, so maybe that's it. Because a lot of these Ace books were proper first printings. Never had a hardback edition. That's another one, Murray Leinster, SOS from Three Worlds. Pretty horrible looking cover there, but and this will be about the same vintage, late 60s. Right. You never get an old batch of job lots without a Kenneth Bulmer book or an EC tub, but this time it's Kenneth Bulmer, Behold the Stars. Can't tell you much about these books because I have never ever read a Kenneth Bulmer book. That looks to be about 66 first UK paperback. Another pretty horrible cover. Right, good old John Brunner. As I said last time I showed you a set of books, there was one in there from Brunner, and he wrote a lot of sort of like pop boilers and basic science fiction before he became famous with his Jagged Orbits and Sheep Look Up and all those type of classics. That one is an Ace book, Born Under Mars, and it's from, again, looks like Copyright 1967, so it looks like I know it's original because this is when Ace changed their cover. So I'm guessing this is a 70s edition, although it doesn't say so inside. But you can always tell the later Ace books by the style of the cover. Okay, you always get an Asimov as well in job lots. Earth is room enough, another one of those horrible panther covers. I don't know what's happening here, but I'm not keen on the panther, the old panther covers, but this will be late 60s, I would imagine. Where are we? Yeah. Oh, this is a reprint from 1969, so it's a later edition, even though it doesn't look like it. Okay, now I'm not familiar with this one. 13 Great Stories of Science Fiction, edited by Groff Conklin. I seem to remember him as being quite prolific in the editing stakes. Yeah, we have some well-known authors, some not so much. But as I say, I always enjoyed these sort of books because the stories don't take long to read. Right, there's an Avon book from America, Time Twisters by J. Hunter Holly. Again, not familiar, not in the greatest shape, but seen worse. Because, a lot of these books came from places like Plus Books. I mean, they were in and out. People used to buy them, trade them back in, and they used to go out again. So, they got pretty hammered, but, that's not in too bad condition. I had a Plus Books just a few hundred yards away from where I lived in London at one time. No date on that one, but it's the first paperback by the look of it. Probably a proper first edition, I would imagine. Right, take a little drink in and we'll do the last few. As I say, you have to be a bit canny when you're buying these job lots off eBay. It's best, I'll give you a little tip, it's best to scan all the pictures that the seller puts up, because you can get a rough idea of the quality, especially if they give you like spine pictures as well as the front cover, break and back covers. But as I say, I was lucky with this lot because they're all in mega good condition for 60, 50-year-old books. Okay, now it's one of my favourite publishers, Door. This one's more a fantasy, in the Tarzan vein, but Door did a lot of that fantasy and stuff that wasn't proper science fiction, if you like. But I've been trying to get these Door books back. I managed to get the odd one here and there, but they're quite expensive online. Obviously a collector's market for them. This one's a first printing from May 1978. Okay. Right. Robert Heinlein. I've read a lot of Heinlein. I know he's a Marmite author, people either love him or hate him. I've read a couple of his books and I haven't really made my mind up, so I guess he's not so Marmite. But Beyond This Horizon, the Signet book from the States, published by the New American Library. And it's in nice condition. If I can get the pages open, I'll tell you when it's from. No, it's a 10th printing from, it doesn't say, but it's, I would imagine it's 70s, mid-70s. Obviously a well thought of book if it's had 10 printings. Right, here's one of my favourite covers out of the whole batch. It's, The Interpreter by Brian Aldiss. I know this author. Josh somebody, I'm sure. No, I'm thinking of somebody else. Yeah, I love that. It's a New English, it's a Foursquare book in very nice condition. Nice white pages. And that is June 1967, first UK paperback. Right, now we go from one very nice cover to one very horrible cover. These 5-star paperbacks all had cheapo cover, didn't look anything like connected with the story. Probably just had a batch of artwork sitting about and they just bunged any old rubbish on the covers. Lest Earth Be Conquered. Frank Belknap Long I've heard of. Very often these authors for 5-star are unknown. In very nice condition, I'll say that for it. Apart from the sticky thing on the back, which I never attempt to get off. It's nice and white. And it was published in 1960. 66. Horrible. But it's science fiction. Right, Asimov's Mysteries. Despite the title, that is a science fiction. It's just happens to be in the mystery genre of science fiction, whatever that is. One of those Panther books with a horrible cover. And it dates from, it was a reprint from 1971. Right, next we've got another John Carter of Mars. Love that cover. That's really neat. Yeah, love it. Foursquare. Very nice condition. Almost mint, I would say. Well, near mint, as you can get for a 50-year-old book. And that one is a new edition from 68, so it must be a second printing. Even though it says first time in paperback, it's a new edition. Right, don't know this fella, Don Pendleton, Guns of Terror 10. I do remember having this book for some reason. It's by Pinnacle Books. Yeah, I've got a few of those. Nothing to say about it really. I'm not familiar with the guy. I have no idea the quality. It looks a bit dodgy. Doesn't give a publication date, but it says copyright 1970, so I assume it's just a straight to paperback first edition. Right, now this is of course one of the older Ace editions that I was talking to you, which is a bit smaller than your average book. Edge of Time by David Grinnell. I had most of these old Ace books back in the day. It's got a Kelly Freas cover, of course. And obviously these got distributed over here. 2 shillings on. And it was published in, just got a copyright date of 58, so that's a bit later. That'll be like mid-60s, I would think. So, as I say, most of these Ace books were proper first editions. Right, another one of those books I used to like, the best, Fantasy and Science Fiction number 14. If you did like these, there was plenty of them, as you can see, number 14. There again, you can see some of the authors involved. Bit better cover than your average Panther book of that period. This one will be mid-60s, I would imagine. Yeah, well, no, late 1969, first UK paperback. Hope you can still see me, the light's getting very poor. Right, this is a novel that I seem to think was quite well thought of way back in the day. Wasps by Eric Frank Russell. It's a bit, it's been printed a bit off askew there because as you can see the words are right next to that. I don't think it's been cut now. No, it's just the way it's been printed a bit off. It's a Panther book, and it's not in bad shape, and it is from 1963, and it's the first UK paperback. Right, we've got the Earth War by Mac Reynolds. I think he was quite prolific back in the day, but I've never read any. It's another Foursquare book from the 60s by the look of it. 60, oh, that's, yeah, I'm having trouble reading stuff, it's getting so dark. 1965, and it's a first UK paperback. Right, J.G. Ballard, The Drought. J.G. Ballard did a few books on the subject of sort of like ecological disasters and what have you. Quite expensive, this book, actually, to try and buy it online as a single, so I was quite pleased to get it. He did something called The Crystal World, I believe, and something about rain, the opposite of this. I remember reading it back in the day and enjoying it. And I've been trying to get them back ever since. So anyway, there's one of the three. Terminal Beach, I think that was another one, about ecological mayhem. Yeah, but that's a Penguin edition. I would think it's quite an early. I had American editions, but this is quite an early. Yeah, this is 1968, and it's a first UK paperback. Yeah, Henry Kuttner's Fury. Yeah, that was quite a well-known novel. I don't know if it won any prizes, but it was very well thought of. It's in not bad condition, just been read a few times by the look of it. Yeah, it's a Mayflower Dell book, and it was published in 1963 and is a first UK paperback. Okay, down to the last couple now. Good old Murray Leinster, Miners in the Sky, with one of them weirdo covers. I think it's a Sphere book. Not in bad condition at all. Still see the white there. And that was published in 1968, by the look of it. It looks like a first proper printing. No UK hardback. So, first edition. And last but not least, I remember this one, probably from the cover, all sorts of weird, isn't it? Milano People by J.F. Bone. I think we had one of his or hers earlier. Yeah, I quite like that cover actually. It's a bit mental, but different. It's a corgi book, and not in the greatest condition, the pages, but it's been a bit water damaged at some stage, but I'll take it. And it's yeah, first British, published 1962, so it's the first British paperback, originally published by Bantam in the States. Right, so there we have it, folks. My latest little collection of SF. Got no more, so you're safe for a while. I'll have to think up something for the next vid. I've got one in mind that's a bit mental, so stick around. A few of you might be interested in it. Right, okay, thanks for watching, and I will see you later.